Music with Sarah.
All right, babe. This is the song of the week, right?
It is.
Not the marriage moment. And we're going to keep with the theme, I guess.
We are. I know you say it's cheesy.
To keep a theme?
But I just, obviously, thinking about forgiveness, this is one of my favorite songs. And so I'm going to use this one this week. It's called Forgiven by Sovereign Grace Music.
I was going to say, there's a lot of songs probably with that title or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there should be a lot of songs about forgiveness. But
this one's by Sovereign Grace.
Sovereign Grace Music. It was from 2017, so it's kind of newish. But anyway, it's a great song. Obviously, it talks about forgiveness,
right,
and how we've been forgiven, but it has 3 verses, and the first one starts with, Lord, forgive us for our pride, when our faith becomes a show, dressed in righteous deeds to hide all the stains below. We have judged your sons and daughters for the sin that is our own. May we now forgive each other and lay down our stones. And obviously makes me think of the woman caught in adultery, and here they all stand there ready to stone her, and it's like, hey, we're guilty too. And so,
but Jesus says, he who is without sin, throw the first stone. And everyone drops their stones because who's that person?
Exactly.
Right.
And I just think about in the body of Christ, we have so many of us that, we're ready to, not necessarily, we don't stone people, but we're ready to point and say, well, you do this, you do this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Let me check my own self.
Figuratively speaking, we're ready to cast stones.
Yeah.
And judge these people and put them down. And who is without sin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So then the second verse says, forgive us for our love of the things we wish to own. We forsake the feast above for all the crumbs below. Though you've made us sons and daughters, we do not the world disown. May we find our greatest treasure is in you alone. I love that. We forsake the feast above. Like here, he's got all these things for us. And yet
for the crumbs down here,
we give all that up, Obviously, we'll have it one day for sure, but right now it's like he, even in this life, I think, wants us to live a glorious life, and yet we don't often because we choose to, get caught up in all the things here. So anyway, and then the last verse says, forgive us for our shame when we can't release the past, when we're quick to take the blame but forget we're free at last, and we avoid your sons and daughters for the fear we don't belong. Give us eyes to see each other through your only Son. I think just the eyes to see each other through Jesus, and I feel like that's so much. If we could see that, if we could see people the way he sees them, I feel like that changes everything.
Right.
So.
No, that's good. I didn't know if you wanted to go down here.
Yeah, well, so some notes I made for myself just thinking about this, and when I think of how to learn to forgive more, we have to realize how much we've been forgiven. That's
at the heart of it, and that's why they were saying, as Christ has forgiven you, forgive others. Right. It's like to me, marriage counseling for Christians should be easy. It's like, are you perfect?
Yep.
Are you more righteous than Christ?
Right.
But he forgave you, who was a dirty, rotten sinner.
Right.
And yet he made you clean and washed you. Why can't we extend the same and for each other?
Right. I mean, like you recently asked everybody in church, you did the thing where who's failed, and even at the camp you did that. And
shame on you if you didn't stand up. I asked the parents first. I should have done with the kids too, because the whole point was that we're all failures.
Yeah.
We're all trying to do right, and we fail, and we need to extend grace back to each other.
Yeah. So I mean, since we've all failed, we all have to forgive each other. That's why I'm saying this touches everybody. And then I have Luke 7:47. It says, wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And I know we talked about this recently, because I think sometimes we feel like, because sometimes we feel like somebody like me, I wasn't forgiven much because I'm not that great of a sinner.
This wasn't recently. I preached this like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, well, whatever.
Right. And the whole point being like, you being who you were, and if you don't know Sarah, she hasn't sinned that much. She didn't have much of a testimony in that way. She wasn't a dirty, rotten sinner. Maybe I was more of one than her. But we're comparing to each other.
Yeah.
And we all should see ourselves as
we've been forgiven much, because I've done much to offend a holy God. I might, compared to you or compared to somebody else, I have a cleaner slate.
Right.
But compared to God, the holy God, I'm like,
we've been forgiven much.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's a great song. I think it's just very powerful words in there, and it's great to remind ourselves that we've been forgiven. And when we realize how much we've been forgiven, it changes our perspective so we can extend that forgiveness to those that hurt us.
Yeah, so go check it out. It's called Forgiven by Sovereign Grace. If you care about what album it's on, I can't read that, so I don't know. It's like, says Powers.
It's Prayers.
Oh, Prayers of the Saints Live. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't have my reading glasses, and you made a small picture.
Sorry.
But you can just search Forgiven by Sovereign Grace music.